So I recently enabled two-factor authentication on my Twitch. So that was a long time coming, long overdue, but it seemed to have disconnected my OBS because the credentials changed. Hopefully now it should be fine. Shouldn't be having any more issues. Hopefully. Am I live? I gotta check. Yeah, I'm live. Okay, awesome. All right. Cool. So, let's actually begin. Just give me a second. Stream manager. All right, cool. Okay, cool. Cool. We should be live, I think. Yeah, let's just continue where we left off. It's been a while since I did my last stream. Like it's been a little over a week, I guess. The thing I want to do starting from this stream is probably to actually export my VODs to YouTube properly. I have missed a few VODs before. I've lost quite a bit of data. So I kind of want to export these things a little bit properly and just make sure that they're maintained. Music is a bit too loud for me. I hope it sounds like correct on stream, at least like volume level wise. Haven't really done any changes, but yeah. Okay, so the main thing that I want to do on today's stream is just sort of complete the testing options that we were looking at. So specifically, not transformations, it was one of these things. It should be this one. So I kind of want to complete the testing Codelabs that we were looking at, and then use that to actually build the stuff on my test. So I guess if I go exclamation point today, I should be, yeah, okay, all right. That is exactly what I'm doing. So yeah, I just want to complete this because last time I don't think we actually stopped there. Let me just open IntelliJ. So yeah, I don't think we actually stopped there. We didn't complete like the stuff that I was doing. Hey, what's up, man? Oh yeah, what, the 3:30 thing? That you should be used to by now. That's normal. That's normal. There's always gonna be like a 20 to 30 minute lag at minimum for when I say I'm going live and when I actually go live. That always happens. I am fucking awful at estimating short-term timelines. I'm pretty awful at estimating long-term timelines as well, but short-term especially, I'm really bad. No, it's mostly I get distracted by something else. And oh, I've seen this. You posted this on the group, I think, a little bit earlier. Fucking hilarious. But like, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's just I usually just end up getting distracted by something else, and that's where that is. Oh, also I have both BTTV and Franco's faces enabled on OBS, so I think we should be able to have like more emotes. I don't know if Sarge, feels bad, man. I think I might have added feels bad, man. I don't remember. Oh, it's part of the global emotes. Pogyu, people happy. Fuck. How did I misspell that? Nah, it's not. Maybe not. I don't know. I have no idea if it works properly. I added a few to BTTV earlier, but then yeah, I don't know. Probably not, right? I don't know. I made a setting change in OBS to kind of have both Franco's faces and BTTV. So I figured that might help, but I don't know. It's not. If it's not helping, it's not helping. What's up, man? How's your weekend been so far? There's an idea update available. I'll do that later. Currently finishing up hackathon work. Oh yeah. You're doing the fuck, what was it? RECV presentations at 5 p.m. I see. Okay, there's like 5 teams. Is that some sort of like prize or something like that? Like, what's the presentation for? Winner gets. Oh yeah, you had mentioned this. Yeah, the Apple Watch and the other thing, which I don't really know, but I'm confident is better than the Apple Watch. I don't know. Yeah. Tick watch, bro. Okay. I'll Google it. Let that index in the background. Tick watch, bro. Okay, I don't know what's up with my typing today. Fuck it. Monkey type time. What is this? Ooh, this looks fancy. Double backslash in paths. Yeah, I don't like it either. Like, honestly, these configs shouldn't really require double backslash in paths. Like, you should be able to use a forward slash and it should, you know, just automatically figure out what the Windows path is. Like, I don't know. Yeah, but like backslash kind of sucks for Windows paths. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it just predates the common use of backslash for escaping. Isn't Windows older than Linux is? Windows is older than Linux, right? It's not older than Unix, but it's older than Linux as far as I know. I think Unix wasn't really popular at the time when Windows started. I don't think desktop computing itself, like personal computing, was actually popular by the time Windows started. Golang and Python accept either slashes or accept either slashes in either system. Right. Same with Java, I think. Java also does accept forward slashes if I give it in the paths. It automatically sort of, you know, there's like an internal like method that it calls to convert it automatically to whichever, you know, underlying path system it requires. But yeah, pretty much I think any like cross-platform, any language that aims at cross-platform support will be having it. Sounds like a very, very simple thing to keep for cross-platform. So TickWatch Pro 4G LTE simply boosted. Wear OS by Google. So wait, you mean to tell me that this entire thing is actually digital? Like it's a digital face, or no, it's not, right? Oh, it's just like 3 screens or something. Multiple screens, is it? Like this is a screen, this is a screen, this is a screen. Each of these are like these small independent screens. Oh, no, wait, what? Oh, the whole thing is digital. The entire thing is digital because that's the only way that the whole thing can look like this. Wow, okay, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, the whole thing is digital. All right. This looks super cool, dude. Okay, if you win, get this one. I feel like this is better. Just even, okay, this looks amazing. It's pretty fucking cool, dude. How much does this cost? Holy shit, okay. Well, it's normally $300 and they're selling it for $200. What's that, 9R? It's 200 USD, right? Fuck, okay. More than I expected. Oh, okay. 22.3K is its original price. Alright, that's insane. Fuck, okay. My watch cost me that much. It's just a normal digital watch. That's how much my watch cost me. I don't see the point of spending any more than that on a watch. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting it for free, of course, that's amazing. Wow, there's Bluetooth. All right, cool. Right, so what did we do last time? We did some stuff, right? We essentially set up the test by picking up the library for Roboelectric over here with this. I think if I go to commit, I should be able to see the changes, right? Why is this here? Didn't I specifically move it out to a separate... Oh man. Switch to commit dialog. I did that earlier. Do I have to do that individually for every single... Bruh, what? I'm so confused. Why does this look so different? Oh. Alright. Okay. So this is the new test file. That's fine. And more importantly, what did we change? We kind of added these test options to include Android resources. That's so that Roboelectric stops screaming at us, saying that the Android manifest is not present. We changed this data binding stuff to the new recommended way of doing it, which is build features data binding true. And then we did this thing over here. Just give me this. All right. I feel like I should pull up the unified viewer. That will make it a lot easier to read. We did that, and we did test implementation, this. Yep, Android X Roboelectric tests, bunch of stuff. All right, cool. Yeah, so this makes sense. We just added these libraries, updated the Kotlin version or something. I don't remember exactly what we did here. Why is this line in yellow? Oh, it's because it's an ID warning, not because we changed it. Okay. This one, okay, so we bumped up the Kotlin version. We just bumped versions. We didn't really do much apart from that. And task view model KT. All right, that was like a small thing. Okay, fine. All right, so this is what we did last time. I think that kind of makes sense. Yeah, we had to do that to get it to build. All right, cool. So at this point we have this run with Android Unit 4. Yeah, okay, and we need to assert something, right? So we need to write the assertions. So we need to test the live data. All right, it's recommended you do two things: use instant task executor rule, ensure live data observation. All right, it's a JUnit rule. When you use it with a get rule annotation, it causes some code in the instant task executor rule to be run before and after the tests. To get the exact code, you can use command B to view the file. All right, command B? What the fuck? Okay, why is this in Mac mode? Okay. All architecture components related background jobs in the same thread. So test results happen synchronously and in a repeatable order. When you write tests that include testing live data, use this rule. All right, cool. Otherwise, they kind of run in a background thread, and then you have like execution order problems. Okay. Gradle dependency for the core testing library. All right. Test implementation. This. That needs to be in the app build Gradle. So that's over here. So if I go into Arch testing version, that's what? That should probably be in this one. Yeah, here it is. 210. I don't know why this has so many issues now. It didn't earlier, and now it does. It's just the Gradle errors make zero sense. They make absolutely zero sense, but whatever. Let's just sync it. I honestly don't understand the Gradle warnings. Probably should just turn them all off or something. But the thing is, it's useful because it kind of tells you the versions being incorrect is the problem. It tells you about that. So there's something wrong here though. We shouldn't probably be using this stdlib jdk7, but for now, for this particular one, I don't really care because it's just the example app. I don't know what to do with it. Okay, whatever, let it build. So we need to do this, open this, add the rule, and so that's okay. So at get rule, isn't it just at rule, or is that like a JUnit 5 thing? Okay, so JUnit 4 also has rules. I don't know why there's an at get rule annotation. Oh, is that because of Kotlin? We have to, because I know there's an at rule. Yeah, exactly. So JUnit has like an at rule thing. Yo, what's up, Jan? Yeah, what's going on? I've just had like a super busy week. So I didn't really stream all across the past week, more or less. I didn't really stream yesterday as well because I mostly didn't feel like it. Happens after a, relatively busy week. You just don't want to write code. So I didn't stream yesterday either. Yeah, so today I'm just sort of continuing on where I was. Streamed 3 days ago. Oh, I must have missed that. I don't even think I've opened Twitch in the past week. I honestly don't think I've opened Twitch in the past week. Maybe on Friday I did something. I might have in the evening I was a little bit free. But yeah. What's up, man? What's up with you? How's your life? How was your week? We had a pretty good weekend so far. The week itself was less good. Working on SDL2. What's that? SDL2. Simple direct media layer. Are you talking about this? What's the HTTP content type for a text file? Isn't it like text/plain or something? I don't remember. Text/plain. Yeah. Should be this. SDL2 is the basis of all GUI these days. Really? I have never heard of this. It's written in C. Okay. So it's a C library. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this in my life. So by working on SDL2, you mean contributing to SDL2 or using it to build something else? zlib license. Is this a thing? Oh, I wasn't even aware this was a thing. Isn't there an opensource.org page for this? Yeah. No, using. Okay, SDL2. All right. Simple direct media layer is a cross-platform development library designed to provide low-level access to audio, keyboard, mouse, joystick, and graphics hardware via OpenGL and Direct3D. Okay. It's used by video playback software emulators in popular games, including Valve's award-winning catalog and many Humble Bundle games. Interesting. Interesting. So it's a okay. So it's sort of a it's like a library that lets you abstract away the hardware, essentially, for peripheral inputs. Is that right? It didn't sound like a it didn't sound like a interesting. Okay, I thought it was like a graphics thing. All right. No, so it has. I don't think it has much to do with GUIs, is it? It's more like a thing. Okay. No, Time Lord. GUI. What does this have to do with the GUI? It sounds more like something you use to interface with hardware, right? So that has nothing to do with like GUI components. I think GUI you'd be using. I don't know. Not even sure what video game GUI libraries are, but yeah. 3D graphics. STL is a game engine. It's not true. Building games directly. Hardware abstraction layer. Yeah, exactly. Multimedia hardware components. Okay. Video, audio. SDL officially supports Windows, Mac OS, Linux, iOS, and Android. That's okay. What else is left? Support for other platforms may be found in the source code. SDL is written in C, works natively with C++. I see. Okay, it's complicated. Yeah, I can see. It seems to be something that's doing a lot of stuff. I think I'm confused. Okay. I've heard of GLFW. I've heard of this. OpenGL library. Lightweight utility for graphics library framework. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of this. I've definitely heard of this. I might have seen something like a talk or something like that on this. But yeah, obviously haven't really digested much. I don't really remember much out of it. But yeah, this is something else as far as I can tell. Yeah, I'm like super far from low-level stuff and games and all that. I play games a lot. Haven't really ever given much thought to writing them. But this is pretty cool, honestly. Like, it's kind of crazy that it's a single library that abstracts away so many different types of hardware. That's pretty cool. Audio, keyboard, mouse, joystick, graphics hardware. Wow. Shit. Okay. It's pretty nuts. Why do all these like really good old libraries have such shit websites? It's like, I mean, it's okay, I guess, but it screams 1990s. It's like, okay. I'm pretty sure this will look like shit on mobile, unless it loads like a completely different layout entirely, which is possible. Okay, the dark theme is okay. It's not bad. All right. Huh. So was I trying to look at the Arch testing version? Blah blah blah. So it's synced up. Yeah, that's cool. Task view model, add this rule. So it's like essentially a val or a var. Oh, it's supposed to be at. Oh yeah, of course. Since it gets re-instantiated every single time. All right. And var rule equals what was it called again? Instant task executor rule. Okay, and you just do this. Okay. So what is this at get rule annotation? This is like a Kotlin thing, isn't it? Because this is the JUnit rule, but it's sort of the getter is delegated to it. Is it? Is that what this means? Never seen this annotation before. Very interesting. Why is it a var though? Oh, probably because at some level it's gonna get reset as well. Run before and after. Does it like get reset at after every test or something? What you call that bad side? No, I'm not saying it's bad. It's really more like super old. Like it's essentially, it's hard to explain. Oh. Yeah, no. This is nothing more than a like a listing. It's just sort of like a directory listing. It's absolutely, yeah. This is like super straight. I think these were like there are those CHM document or something. I seem to remember there was like a particular compiled HTML. It's really, this is reminiscent of like those CHM doc files, which just kind of load a particular, this is what I go through every day. Well, I guess it's good to have some documentation at least, but yeah, these are annoying to deal with because like you can't really search through them very easily, etc. You need to use like external search engines. But otherwise it's okay. It's manageable. But for the most part, yeah, I think like it's just, they don't have syntax highlighting. Yeah, I guess it's okay. SDL2 image sound TTF mixer are pain. No, it's just I find like the thing about the websites is it's just how it is, just like this, like I don't know how to explain this, but just this super 1990s looking page or like early 2000s. If you look at like modern software libraries, for instance, like they have like completely different looking pages. It's just a lot of the design aspects, modern design aspects have kind of completely escaped these old libraries and stuff. Yeah, that's what I expected. Which is, I find that a little bit surprising is all I'm saying. I just find that a little bit surprising because most of these, they do active development of the libraries itself every single day. There are multiple commits. They're all like these pretty big, pretty commonly used, super active libraries, right? It's not like the software itself is dead. The software is very much alive. It's just the documentation, the pages that they have, which look like this. And I find that kind of interesting that they haven't ever bothered to update these pages or like figured, it doesn't really matter. Website is perfect to me. Maybe I'm used to it. Yeah, probably. It's just the initial shock. I'm saying like I don't think there are problems with the way these websites look like, except for the fact that maybe the text is too small and they have like a lot of these. This just design wise, it's just a lot of wasted space, and in general focus on the wrong elements. Like, why are these up front and center on the main website? It's like, yeah. But apart from that, yeah, I guess it's okay. It's not too bad. The websites aren't like responsive enough or whatever, so I can't like browse these. I don't know how this will look like on phone. Maybe I can check actually. We have if I do an inspect element, I can enable this thing, right, and see how it looks like on phone. So if I like refresh that, does that change the way it looks? No, see, it looks like this on phone. See, this is kind of what I mean, right? This is kind of what I mean. It looks like crap on phone. Instead of like reflowing itself or like keeping like a different layout, it's just the same kind of thing. No one is gonna code it on phone, but no one's gonna be coding on phone. But sometimes I do browse things. I do browse documentation. I do browse articles. If this comes up on Hacker News, I'll want to see like what it looks like on phone. And you know, I look like if it looks like this, I just probably just like, you know, stop considering it. Like it'll be like, yeah, whatever, you know. It seemed interesting, but it's not interesting enough for me to, you know, actually try to read tiny text on like a badly formatted website. That sort of thing. I'm just saying, like that the main thing you get with like better design elements that work on mobile, etc., is just you reach out to a wider audience. That's it. Like, yeah. I mean, it works well for its purpose, of course. It works pretty well for its purpose. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's fine. It's fine. It's very workable, but yeah. I just find it interesting because like if like the library was dead, then of course I wouldn't expect its website to be updated. Like if no one was updating the software itself, I wouldn't expect its website to be updated. But the library itself is an active development. It's being used by hundreds and thousands of projects or whatever. And the website still kind of looks like that and hasn't been updated for like a decade or 2 decades. And then it's like, you know, like, okay, like why? I don't know. Like the Android documentation has been updated so much, right? Like in terms of how the websites look and all that. So C programmer doing UI and design Kappa. Yeah. Imagine that. Indeed. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. To some extent, I suppose it's not their forte, so they just don't bother. Like if it works, why break it, right? That sort of thing. So yeah, I suppose I understand. So if we're using a live data, why do we need a specific thing to be able to test that? Commonly have an activity or fragment observe the live data, right? That makes sense. So there's a lifecycle owner attached to the live data. The live data continues updating or producing while that lifecycle is active. This observation is important, okay? View model dot live result live data dot observe fragment observer. Okay, so you pass in the fragment, which is sort of the owner of the observation. I don't know if in this app that's happening somewhere. You never consider learning low level. Is that a question? I mean, I do know C to some extent. I do know assembly to some extent. I'm just not super comfortable with either of them, and I don't consider it to be my sphere of interest. To put it like in a more specific way, it's kind of like there are things you can do with them, but like of course there's like lots of things you can do with software in general, and for me like low level code has never actually captured my interest fundamentally. Like it's kind of like my interest is really on software architecture, right? So it's more like on the higher level, how do you build and maintain software for the long term, right? How do you write better tested software and stuff like that? So of course you can apply a lot of those rules onto low level software as well, but it works very differently. Like sort of the view that you're getting from there is kind of very different. So yeah, so it's just the focus is very different, right? Sometimes you might want to forego some particular things that make the code more readable or something like that in exchange for something that makes it more performant, and that would matter more at a low level. But I don't have an interest in doing that, because for me, my tendency is always to stick in the opposite direction, always prioritize readability over prioritizing pretty much anything else, right? So readability and testability is like at the top of the line for me. So that automatically kind of precludes me from being able to do low level stuff and kind of enjoying that kind of stuff, because it's again, a lot of that stuff comes down to optimizing the data path, like micro optimizing the data path, making sure that, let's say for instance, you have you're doing like a cache call, right, across like the CPU is basically loading stuff into the registers, and it needs to make sure that you have things in your L1 or L2 cache instead of your L3 cache or in the RAM for data that's accessed more frequently. Then in that case, you might want to the way you structure your cache memory, the way you structure your registers, you might want to actually pick, if say for example, I just want like a couple of bytes in there, but the bus size is larger than that, I might want to pull one request and get multiple potentially unrelated pieces of data, but which are all, which I need to access pretty frequently in a single request. So that reduces, like, it optimizes the amount of time spent on the bus. So this is like a super specific example, but this is like one of those things that you would do if you were trying to micro optimize for performance at the lowest levels, and you sacrifice readability, or you sacrifice being able to understand stuff for that instead. Because a new programmer looking at that will be completely confused. Like, why are you fetching this and this? Right, these are completely unrelated. Why are you fetching them together? And then it's like, oh, it turns out it's for low level performance, so that you don't actually waste the cache line or something like that, right? So it kind of comes down to that trade-off becomes real at those levels. Like, if you have pieces of code that execute hundreds of times a second or something like that, if you're working on games especially, you will have things like that, because frames per second. So if you're trying to max out frames per second, you're having like a game executing at 120, 144 frames a second, and you essentially have pieces of data that are being accessed frequently, multiple times per frame or something like that. So you would want to optimize those as much as possible, even if that optimization kind of sacrifices readability or understandability of the code a little bit, right? Because it matters for performance. So again, for me, that's like not a super high priority of interest. At least I understand why it's done, of course, but it's like, yeah, I've never, and I there's this other thing where I often feel like low level programming is really left for the smart programmers. I never consider myself a smart programmer. I don't I don't think I'm a smart person. So yeah, I take a long time to understand things as they are. So it's just, in general, the lower level it goes, and the closer it gets to the machine and further away it gets from the human level of trying to understand stuff, the harder it gets for me, right? So yeah, there's also that. So yeah, fundamentally it's just a mix of things. But yeah, I eventually do want to work on a systems level language, but it's most likely going to be Rust. It's not going to be C or assembly. I've used C++ even in a professional capacity. I hate it. I cannot stand that language. C is okay. Assembly is okay, of course. If you have to code in assembly, you have to code in assembly. You don't really have choices there. But Rust, I don't know. Rust is interesting. I feel like there are things to learn from Rust that I won't really learn from other languages. So I do intend to use Rust at some point. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe next year. It'll be potentially one of the things I do. This year, I kind of mainly want to cover Kotlin and TypeScript. I should really be getting around to TypeScript at some point, considering it's already August. But yeah, I did want to like, I had expected I would be sort of midway through the app by now, but whatever. Lots of things have come in the middle. So yeah, that's a big long-winded answer to my question, to your question. View model result live data. What am I missing here? Okay, so there is a fragment. You need active observers on live data to trigger any on-changed events and trigger any transformations. What are transformations? So I think I opened that earlier, right? Transformation methods for live data. These methods permit functional composition and delegation of live data instances. Are calculated lazily. Oh, I see. So this is like the equivalent of the intermediate methods that we have for a lot of things, actually, for flows in Kotlin, for streams in Kotlin, and all that stuff. So they all compute lazily. Sequences in Kotlin, not streams, sequences in Kotlin, and will be run only when the return live data is observed, right? So it's like super similar. Live data is like super similar to like Kotlin flows. I don't see why we need it. In fact, like, I don't know what. I think the only difference is a live data specifically is lifecycle aware. Flows, since they are just generally in Kotlin, they're not. Right? Is there a difference? Live data versus Kotlin flow. I can observe live data from multiple fragments. Can I do this with flow? We have multiple live data from a single live data using map and switch map. Multiple flow from a single source flow. Using mutable live data, I can update data from anywhere using the variable reference. Okay. You can do this with emit and collect. Emit is similar to live data post value and collect is similar to observe. Let's give an example. Repository returns a flow string. All right. Flow string. Fragment will lifecycle scope.launch. You call collect. All right. Why do you need live data then? What's the point of this? Do we as live data with a flow instance? Okay. So it's really more of the fact that live data came a little bit earlier, I suppose, or it was already in implementation stages when Kotlin flows were introduced, or when they came out of beta or whatever. So I guess that's the reason why we still have live data. Doesn't seem like we should need it otherwise, right? View model. Flow is very handy. You can create a flow inside a flow, right? I'm aware of this. Okay. Mutable live data. Can I update the data using a variable reference? I met the value outside of the flow, the code, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, I think aware of this. Is there any actual difference? Observable data class holder. Okay. It's lifecycle aware. Once the component which is observing data is destroyed or not active, live data stops publishing data to that observer. Solves many conventional problems. Live data in MVVM. Advantages of using live data is no memory leaks, no crashes due to stopped components. How to use live data. Okay. Is there any like difference between the way this works and model name view model status observer status? It takes the status and it updates. Okay, so this is an observer of string. So this is string and just sets that, and you write model.status. So that's this status dot observe this comma status observer. Now the question is, when does this get updated? There's nothing to update this in the view model. Live data with a string. String data type observer and update the UI inside it. Activity context. Kotlin flow. All right. So this has value emissions. What about this? This has no value emissions. So at this point, like, how does status get updated is my question. This has to post a value, right? So there is an observer for it, which is reading the value. What's writing the value? Huh? Okay. This example is weird. Emits a flow. Model foo collect. Yeah, so this I'm aware of. This, I know how this works. Key difference, live data is used to observe data without having any is that supposed to be hassle? Is this supposed to be hassle? HASSLE? Because I don't see how the word hazel fits here at all. Huh? Okay. What? All right. Live data is used to observe data without having any hassle to handle lifecycle problems. Okay, so in other words, it's lifecycle aware. Whereas Kotlin flow is used for continuous data integration, it also simplifies asynchronous programming. But this is like, but that's not a difference. Okay, take room library as an example. First, use live data to transmit data. It solves most of the existing problems. When there are future changes in the database, live data is helpless. What? Huh? But isn't live data, the point of live data, literally to handle when there is a change in the database happening in the future, there's an observable, and the observable automatically updates because the data is live, right? Okay. Wait. Let's actually go to the thing that the one that we skipped earlier. So quickly open this. There was a thing that we skipped earlier. Codelabs in the series, what you should already know. Live data. There was a live data thing that we skipped earlier, and I think there should be. Probably shouldn't have skipped that actually. Was it in the advanced one? I don't think it was in the advanced one. The advanced one only had like notifications and some other nonsense. The nonsense is not necessary. Advanced graphics, animation, geo. Yeah, none of those are necessary. We mainly need this, but I think it was in the basics then. Fundamentals. Room, databases and coroutines. Yeah. It was in this now. Okay, so work manager to schedule background tasks. I don't think we need that for now. I think the repository is really more of an architectural concern, so we don't have to worry about that either. But I think live data objects, it was one of these that we needed, but I thought we did all of these. Did we not do lesson 5 entirely? I thought I only skipped lesson 6. I don't know. Let's see. So this one we did actually do. If I go to the next, so we didn't do this entirely. We kind of didn't do the live data and live data observers. All right. Let's skim through this. I don't really want to do the examples entirely for them, but I just do want to read it. Room database. So yeah, this is fine. We are aware of how most of this works. It's only the live data part that I actually don't understand. I think in the app, like welcome part, it'll probably tell us that we should be aware of live data. Yep. Okay. The SQLite primer, yeah, that's not necessary. Multi-threaded and callbacks primer. Very interesting. Okay. Okay. Let's actually look at the live data thing because I think this should tell us what we need. Okay. So you set up observers to observe changes in the app's data. Live data is lifecycle aware, so it only updates app component observers that are in an active lifecycle state. Superb. So that's very good. So it'll not end up updating something which is stopped or destroyed or something, right? So okay. What makes them useful, blah blah blah. Okay. Guess the word. We did this? Oh, I wasn't even aware. Looks at the words in the app. Collaborate to get the highest score possible. Acts them out in turn. Sees the word, for example, it's guitar. Guesses the word correctly. The first player presses the got it button, which increases the count by 1 and shows the next word. If he can't guess the word, the first player presses skip, which decreases the count by 1 and skips to the next word, and endgame button. Functionality isn't in the starter code for the first Codelabs in the series. Okay. Improve rate by adding an event to end the game, where the user cycles through all the words in the app. When the user cycles through all the words in the app, you can add a play again button so that the user can play the game again. All right, cool. Locate and run the starter code. Okay. Okay. Live data is an observable data. Okay. Live data around the current score. It's observable. Observer is notified when the data changes. Live data holds data. It's a wrapper that can be used with any data. All right. Is lifecycle aware. When you add an observer to the live data, the observer is associated with the lifecycle owner, usually an activity or a fragment. The live data only updates observers that are in an active lifecycle state, such as started or resumed. Live data and observation here. All right, let's check that out. To import live data components, okay. Considers an observer, which is represented by the observer class, to be in an active state if the lifecycle is in started or resumed state. Okay. Only notifies active observers about updates. Inactive observers registered to watch live data objects aren't notified about changes. Okay. Register an observer paired with an object that implements the lifecycle owner interface. Relationship allows the observer to be removed when the state changes to destroyed. Especially useful for these two. Okay, cool. I'm not worried about leaks. Instantly unsubscribed when the lifecycles are destroyed. Beautiful. So do you have to resubscribe them manually, or does that happen automatically as well when it's recreated? Oh, maybe it's part of the subscription itself is supposed to be a part of your on create or something. So yeah. UI matches your data state. Okay. Update the UI in the observer objects. You don't need to update the UI every time the app changes. No memory leaks, no crashes, no manual lifecycle handling. Always up to date data. Beautiful. Proper configuration changes, sharing resources, singleton pattern to wrap system services so they can be shared. Oh. Okay. System service once, and then any observer that needs the resource can just watch the live data object. Extend live data. Beautiful. All right. View model class. You create a live data observer object that defines the onChanged method, which controls what happens when the live data object held data changes. The observer object is in the UI controller, such as the activity or fragment. So each activity or fragment needs to have its own observer because it will basically tell you, right? And you attach it using the observe method. Beautiful. Okay. You can register an observer without an associated lifecycle owner using the observe forever method. Always active and it's always notified. Ah, beautiful. Okay. Calling the remove observer method. Okay. All registered observers, as long as the attached lifecycle owner is in the active state. UI controller observers to subscribe to updates. Cool. So in the view model, you basically just create this by lazy. All right. Data is not set initially. Okay. View model objects as opposed to an activity or fragment. And you decouple them to survive configuration changes. Beautiful. Okay. So using the view model is good because view model survives configuration changes. That's the important thing, right? Okay. On create method is the right place. I see. So it doesn't make redundant calls from an activity or fragments on resume method. Ensure that activity or fragment has data that can display as soon as it becomes active. I see. I see. Beautiful. Okay. So it's always an on create that you want to start observing it. So you create the observer and you update it. Can we create the observer beforehand? Like I should ideally be able to have this just statically defined, right? Like val name observer, I should be having that directly over here. Okay. Only to active observers. An exception to this, or maybe I can just like probably just move that into its own method. Receive an update when they change to an inactive to an active state. I see. Okay. Okay. So it takes the name, sets it. All right. All right. So updating. Live data has no publicly available methods to update the stored data. What? Exposes the set value and post value methods publicly, and you must use these if you want to edit the stored value. All right. Mutable live data is used in the view model, and the view model only exposes immutable live data objects. Ah, okay. Interesting. But so if I do model.current name, isn't current name mutable by default? It's a mutable live data, right? So shouldn't that be exposed directly over here? Because if you're calling .observe on it. Mutable live data is used in the view model, and then the view model only exposes immutable live data objects to the observer. I see. So is this not the right way to architect it? Surprising. Okay. On click listener button, another name dot set value. Okay, so the button's on click listener is basically that you set it to another name, current name dot set value, another name. All right. Observers calling the on change methods. Okay. Show the button press, but set value or post value could be called to update M name for a variety of reasons. Response to a network request or blah blah blah. Awesome. Okay. Main thread. You can use the post value method to update the live data object. Oh, I see. So why wouldn't you call post value all the time instead of calling set value? The value B would be set at first, and later the main thread will override it at value A. Posts a task to the main thread to set the main value. So to set the given value. So if you have the following code executed in the main thread, post value A, then set value B. B would be set at first. Oh, bye-bye, man. See you. Have fun. Oh yeah, it's your... Oh, with 9 minutes to spare. Nice. I am speed. All right, man. Have fun. I'll catch you on the next one. I think I'll be streaming for another like half an hour, 45 minutes maybe, and then I'll stop. So yeah. See you later, man. Bye bye. B would be set at first, and then the main thread would override it with the value A. Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Only the last value would be dispatched. Oh, so it's similar to Kotlin channels. One of the things. Damn it. What was that called? Which keeps only the latest value. Shit, this is why I used Anki. Oh my god, I have not opened Anki in fucking week. Shit, I completely forgot what it's called. There's a thing in Kotlin. The flows, the coroutines. There's like a channel that you can set. You can set a thing and it'll make sure that only the latest value, whatever is dispatched, like whatever was emitted, only the latest value will be preserved. And the older values will kind of get overwritten. It keeps only the latest value. Fuck, I forgot. I'll have to go through those again. I'll do that later. Set value sets the value. This method must be called from the main thread. If you need to set a value from the background thread, you can use post value object. Okay. Gotcha. I see how this works now. Okay, so since it's asynchronous, it'll actually like post a task and it's sort of like an eventual consistency thing. All right. Cool. Okay. So live data with room. Observable queries which return live data objects. Okay. Coroutines with live data. Coroutines with Android. I still don't see why we can't use like normal Kotlin flows. Like specifically, they could have made some sort of an Android flow or something like that, you know, like just as a library instead of using live data, which is lifecycle aware, which just happens to be lifecycle aware. Like the flow builder for it could have been including having to pass in a lifecycle owner. So if you passed in a lifecycle owner to the flow builder, you could actually extend that. I don't know why they didn't do that. They could have done that. It was honestly a thing. I don't know. They just didn't do it. Why does live data exist, honestly? Stock live data class, implementation of the price listener. So in this case, it's like the stock live data returns the live data of big decimal. And then you have a listener, which is basically takes in a price. So this is like the observer, right? It takes a price and it sort of sets value equals price. Okay. Observer to be in an active state if the observer's life cycle is okay. extend the live data class on active stock manager dot request price updates listener. So this is sort of like attaching the listener observer, right? Yeah. Remove updates. So this is on inactive. All right, cool. On active method is called when the live data object has an active observer. Okay, so it's kind of like, okay, so we're creating our own live data which extends. Oh, sorry, this is not a return. This is a class. Shit. Okay, so this is a class. It extends live data, big decimal. And this one passes in a string. All right, cool. So it contains a stock manager, which I'm guessing the stock manager basically has, yeah, whatever, it's a thing. And okay, we have a listener which basically sets value equals price big decimal. What's value? I don't see a value or something. Oh, I see. So value is the thing which is there in live data. All right, cool. So it sets, oh, I see. So stock manager would request price updates and you pass in the listener to it. And here the listener is basically just lambda, which takes in a price and sets it. All right, cool. All right. So on active is called when the live data method has an active observer. You need to start observing. On inactive is called when it doesn't have any active observers. Since, okay, there's no reason to stay connected to the stock manager service. All right, cool. Set value t updates the method of the live data. So that's, I think, gonna be here. Yeah, there we go, set value. But we can just do value equals price over here. That called set value, right? Cool. So now you can just do observe a big decimal price, update the UI. All right, cool. Makes sense. Very cool. All right. Okay. Lifecycle aware, you can share them. Singleton. Okay. So now you can make this such that the constructor is private or something, and then it has a companion object with an instance. You should probably make the constructor private. I don't see a private constructor part in here to complete it, but yeah. So you do this, you put a latent var, you call at main thread, get symbol stock live data. I don't know what at main thread does. Denotes that the annotated method should be called only on the main thread. If the annotated element is a class, then all methods in the class should be called on the main thread. Yeah, I see. So I take it that Android handles that automatically. Okay. So it calls this only on the main thread. Get symbol string. It returns the stock live data. So it's sort of like dot get symbol. Okay, so that gives you the one that you need. If the instance is initialized, I'll stock live data symbol. Equals. Okay, nice. I don't know what this double colon is. Class literals in Kotlin. Okay. Is there any reason to use this rather than just using S instance directly? Dot is initialized. I don't know. Transform live data. Applies a function stored in the live data object, propagates the result downstream. Similar to map, applies a function to the value stored in the live data object and unwraps and dispatches the result downstream. So this takes in a user. Yeah, so user live data, you apply that and it takes in the user which comes here, this user type, and it makes it into a string. That's why you get a live data string. But what about switch map? Similar to map, applies a function to the value stored in the live data object and unwraps and dispatches the result downstream. The function passed to switch map must return a live data object as illustrated by the following example. So it's like user equals transformation switch map user ID. So user ID is a live data string and it calls get user, which returns a live data user. Oh, okay. I see sort of the difference here. This is just sort of wrapped, but this is unwrapped. It has to return a live data. Okay. Interesting. Switch map. Okay. Any source is live data x. Switch map function is switch map function is a function of x live data y. So where x will be the parameter, so it's just in this case the ID. Right. Okay. To live data of y, while this one has a slightly different signature. I think it'll be more like x to y. Right, got it. Which returns a live data y. This also returns a live data y. It's just that, got it. I don't know if there's like a real reason to have both of these, but maybe there is. Lifecycle object inside a view model object. Transformation is probably a better solution. I see. UI component that accepts an address and returns a postal code for that address. You can implement the naive view model for this component as illustrated by the following. Don't do this. Okay. So it's like live data string. Wait, so get postal code. This is the view model. Postal code repository, which depends on the repo. Okay, so the view model depends on the repository. And so it calls repository.getPostcode, passing in the address. Isn't this what we're supposed to do? The UI component then needs to unregister from the previous live data object and register to the new instance. Wait, what? Each time it calls get postal code. Okay. Oh, because this is returning every time it calls get postal code, it's returning a new live data. Is that why? I see. Transformation of the address input. So postal code live data string equals transformations.switchmap address input. I'm sorry, where did address input come from? Mutable live data string. Huh? This came from where? Accepts an address. Didn't that come in from... I'm so confused. What? Dot address maps to get postcode address. Okay. In this case, the postal code field is defined as a transformation. As long as your app has an active observer, the field's value is recalculated and retrieved whenever the address input changes. I see. Okay. Lower levels of the app to create live data objects are lazily calculated on demand. A view model object can easily obtain references to live data objects and then define transformation rules on top of them. Okay, I see. I sort of see what's going on. I just don't understand, like... So you had a live data initially. You didn't get passed in a string, because these two are completely different in terms of signature, right? This one is taking a live data and transforming it into another live data, which is understandable. This one is not. This one's taking a string and creating a live data out of it, which is what I thought, like creating a postcode live data, right? Just taking an address live data and transforming it into a postcode live data, which is fine, but it's more like, what's updating the address then? Where's the address coming from? I don't know. Maybe it's like, even if I have a text box where I allow the user to like write an address as a string or something, I can probably attach that to a live data. So every single input or output box in the UI can be attached to a live data, and that would be the best way to go about things. And just define all other things as transformations between the live data. Is it? I don't know. Maybe. Merge multiple live data sources. Subclass of... Okay. Mediator live data. What in the world? Feels like overly complicated stuff. Subclass which may observe other live data objects and react to unchanged elements. Okay. Consider the following scenario. We have two instances of live data. Okay. We want to merge their emissions into live data merger. Will become sources for the mediator live data merger, and every time onChange callback is called for either of them, we set a new value in live data merger. I see. All right. Only 10 values to be merged in. After 10 values, we can stop listening. Live data merger.add source. And we pass in an observer, which basically has a count, which increments the count and then removes the source at some point. All right. Okay. That's a good toy example right there, but I don't know what you would actually use this for, realistically. Maybe, yeah. Actually, no. I can think of some vague use cases. All right. Okay. Live data class. I should eventually go through that one, but yeah. Live data view in the view model, the reactive patterns, snack bar, single event case, navigation, jetpack live data. Sort of understand. I still don't get what the difference is between that and Kotlin flows though. Mutate a state holder with the result of a coroutine. Right. Who the fuck uses these in Kotlin? What? Okay. So private val my UI state mutable live data result. UI state result at loading. Okay. Mutable live data of a result of a UI state. Wouldn't it just be... Okay. I don't know. So UI state, result, UI state, blah, blah, blah. Use mutable state flow. Mutable state flow. Flow equals this. Launch dot value equals result. The rest of it is exactly the same. Always has a value. Always has one value. Supports multiple observers, so the flow is shared. What the hell is shared flow? Flow APIs. Pain. Very much pain. So you have these transformations and stuff. Okay, cool. I mean, it's mostly intelligible. I kind of understand. I just don't understand why it's necessary to use any more. Like once we have flows in it. So like, yeah. So like, okay. So here these become live data. You, in the view model, you initialize their values to 0, right? And empty. And at this point, it's like, yeah, fun on skip. Score.value equals score.value minus 1. So when skipped, all right, then you call next word. On correct, you do +1, next word, right? Use the plus function. Yeah, whatever, but these should be, I mean, you shouldn't need to use the functions. You should be able to use the operators. Question mark +1, I guess that should be enough. Game view model. Inside the next word, change the word reference to word.value. What? Next word. Word list empty. So word list is, no, only word is, okay. So word list is empty. It's not empty, sorry. Then select and remove a word from the list. You remove at 0. And you set that to word value. All right, cool. Methods for updating the UI. So this is in-game fragment. So in the fragment, you basically update this to be equal to view model.word.value. All right, so this is just the observer, isn't it, at this point? Isn't this the observer? But don't you have to call .observe then? Thinking, how does this work, right? View model.word.value, where word is essentially a live data. Don't you have to call observe at some point? Updating the UI, update word text, binding.wordText.text equals view model.word.value. In-game fragment update score text. Score text score value to string. Okay. Game finish method. Change the reference to the view model.score to view model.score.value. In fact, let me quickly take a look at what the code looks like for this. Download the starter code that's over here. Yes, the view model. I'll make this GitHub 1s, so I'll be able to just read the code directly. Right. So this guess the word view model, right? Yeah. All right. So in game fragment. So game fragment should be in game fragment. So there is essentially binding dot blah blah blah, correct button, skip on skip. I thought on skip and on correct and all that were in not in the view model. Where is the view model? Here. Okay, so this has an on skip on correct, which basically does this, and we update that to the, instead of having like a string and blah blah blah, we use live data wrappers for each of them. All right, we do that, and we then go back here into game fragment, update word text. We change this to how game has just finished. Okay, so the on skip here just delegates over to the view model, and then it calls update word text and updates core text, which we probably don't want to do this way because like we just want to use an observer, right? We don't actually want to do it this way. For now, we just have to update this, all right, to the values. Okay, cool. Game finished, view model.score, view model.score.value, inside game finished. Okay, so yeah, of course it has to be dot value again, add the required null safety check. All right, make sure there are no errors in your code, compile and run your app. All right, cool. So observer, why use view lifecycle owner, fragment views get destroyed. Oh, even the fragment itself is not destroyed. Two lifecycles, the lifecycle of the fragment and the lifecycle of the fragment's view. Huh? Interesting. Interesting. Let me just.
Lifecycle. Now, fragments has a very complicated lifecycle. Let's look at an example. So if you have a fragment that when it's created is observing live data, it goes through the regular creation, we create a view for it, and it goes to the resume state. At this point, if you have new values in your live data, your UI will start displaying them. Everything works fine. Later on, user hits a button, so you want to detach this fragment because they're going to another fragment. And we're going to stop that fragment. But once the fragment is stopped, we don't need to view for it. We would like to reclaim those resources. So we destroy the view. Later on, user hits the back button. You go back to the previous fragment. We reattach it. Now, because we have destroyed the view, we need to create a new one. We go ahead and do it, but it's a brand new view. It goes through the regular creation cycle, and now we have a bug. This new view will never resume the state of that live data because you are using the fragments lifecycle to observe it, so we don't have any reason to redispatch the same value. Of course, if live data receives a new value, the UI will be updated, but it's kind of too late because on recreate, your UI has a bad state. Now, this left you with two options. You would either subscribe in on create. It looks very clean, one-time setup, but it will fail if you recreate the view, so you needed to manually update the view. Or you would subscribe in on create view, which handles the creation, but now you have double subscriptions that you need to remove. You lose the automatic lifecycle management. So the problem here is that fragments have not one, but two lifecycles. And we have decided to embrace it and give the fragment view its own lifecycle. So now, starting in support library 28 or Android X fragments 1.0, while observing a live data, you can specify the view lifecycle. And so while you're observing, if it is about the view, you use the view lifecycle. Otherwise, you use the fragment lifecycle, and we manage the subscription for you for free. Okay,
Okay,
data winding.
nice. The rest of this talk also seems interesting. Probably should watch the rest of that as well. Let me just reduce the I think like minus 30 decibels around is probably where it should be. I don't really know. I wish there was like a quick way for me to alternate between volume levels. I hope this is not like super loud. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet, and I will adjust it accordingly. But yeah, okay. I think it makes sense, sort of. But okay, kind of weird. View lifecycle owner. All right. When setting observers that, okay, you should set the observers in on create view and pass in view lifecycle owner. Wait, what? No, 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 no. No. If we set it in on create view, we don't need to do this, right? But they specifically said that if you set it up in on create view, it's fine. The con is you do a double registration. So we should be registering in on create. It's a nice one-time setup. Why on create view? I'm so confused. What? That goes exactly against what this video said. I have no idea. Okay. Okay. Right? So, because, yeah, if you do it in on create, it's supposed to be that you've observed starting at the point when the fragment itself is being created. And you don't need to reattach it over and over. You only need to do it when the fragment itself is created or destroyed. But if you pass in view lifecycle owner, it should automatically make actually weird. Really weird. Doesn't make any fucking sense. What? So where was I? Get view lifecycle owner, right? Lifecycle owner that represents the fragment's view lifecycle. This mirrors the lifecycle, but in case of detached fragments, the lifecycle can be considerably longer than the lifecycle of the view itself. Okay. Shouldn't override this. View lifecycle owner live data. Observe the lifecycle of a fragment's view. Live data, which, okay. Interesting. So will be set to the new lifecycle owner after on create view creates a non-null view, and will be set to null after on destroy view. So you can essentially observe which view instance is the active one. Okay. Very interesting. On create view, bundle. You should create blah blah blah. Okay. Asynchronous code was a mistake. Game fragment on create view method. Attach an observer to the live data object for the current score. Use the observe method. Put the code after the initialization of the view model. Lambda expression to simplify the code. Lambda expression is an anonymous function that isn't declared but is passed immediately. Yeah, I know what lambda expression is. So in the game fragment, in onCreate view, you attach an observer. So view model score.score.observe, view lifecycle owner, right? Observe. So score observer is basically going to be new score to nothing. Okay. This is all the reference to observer. Alt enter. Update the text view with the new score to string. So that gives you the new score. All right, cool. Current word. Game fragment, you can delete these methods. You don't need them anymore. All right, cool. They're updated by the live data observers. All right, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But okay, I need to watch that talk again, kind of try and understand, because from what he said in the talk, it seems like you should put this in onCreate and not in your onCreate view, because onCreate view will handle the recreate for you. Isn't that what he just said?
Of course, if live data receives a new value, the UI will be updated, but it's kind of too late because on recreate, your UI attach this fragment because they're going to another fragment, and we're going to for free. Now, working on these things, we have also discovered more problems we have. One of them is the fragments view lifecycle. Now, fragments has a very complicated lifecycle. Let's look at an example. So if you have a fragment that when it's created is observing live data, it goes through the regular creation, we create a view for it, and it goes to the resume state.
So
At this point, if you have new values in your live data, and it goes to
so let's be very clear. It called onCreate and then started observing. And then there's the onCreate view, which happens. So the onCreate view happens after this. So basically we start observing the live data. So live data is here, right? We start observing the live data after onCreate, right? So onCreate is the point where we do it at the fragments lifecycle. The views lifecycle starts after that, at this point, right? Okay.
At this point, if you have new values in your live data, your UI will start displaying them. Everything works fine. Later on, user hits a button, so you want to
Detach.
fragment because they're going to another fragment. And we're going to stop that fragment. But once the fragment is stopped,
So the view lifecycle ends.
view for it. We would like to reclaim those resources, so we destroy the view. Later on,
But the fragment is still alive because you only called detach. You didn't call destroy. You called destroy view. You didn't call destroy on the fragment itself. You only called detach on the fragment. So the fragment itself still exists. It's only detached. But the view is not needed anymore. So the view is destroyed. And now you will create a new view.
we don't need the view for it. We would like to reclaim those resources, so we destroy the view. Later on, user hits the back button. You go back to the previous fragment. We reattach it.
Reattach it.
Because we have destroyed the view,
It'll do a create view.
create a new one.
So there'll be a new view.
But it's a brand new view. It goes through the regular creation cycle.
Right.
And now we have a bug. This new view will never resume the state of that live data because you are using the fragments lifecycle to observe it. But we don't have any reason to redispatch the same value.
Yep. So that's the thing. If a new value gets emitted, then it will update the view. It'll update the view with it. But if a new value doesn't get updated, the view will just show an empty thing. It doesn't get, when it's created, it doesn't, because the lifecycle is attached to the fragment, right?
Of course, if live data receives a new value, the UI will be updated.
Will be
But
updated.
it's kind of
B.
too late because on recreate,
A will never come.
has a bad state.
For this much time, A will never arrive.
Left you with two options. You would either subscribe in on create. It looks very clean, one-time setup, but it will fail if you recreate the view, so you needed to manually update the view. Or you would subscribe in on create view, which handles the creation, but now you have double subscriptions that you need to remove. You lose the automatic lifecycle management. So the problem here is that fragments have not one but two life cycles. And we have decided to embrace it and give the fragment view its own life cycle. So now, starting in support library 28 or Android X fragments 1.0, while observing a live data, you can specify the view life cycle. And if so while you're observing, if
Oh, you do it in onCreate view.
you use the view life cycle. Otherwise, use the fragment life cycle, and we manage the subscription for you for free.
Okay. So you do use the view lifecycle, but it manages the subscription for free, so it doesn't double subscribe, basically. All right. If you use the thing, it doesn't double subscribe. All right. The lifecycle owner or whatever it was, this thing, you get view lifecycle owner, right? Yep. On create view is where it's safe to access the view lifecycle. Under the condition, you must return a non-null view. An illegal state exception will be thrown if you access the view lifecycle but don't return a non-null view. All right. Okay. Encapsulate the live data. All right, cool. Observer. Let me just update that on the today command. That should be updated, actually. There we go. I've mostly been going through this. What on earth? No data was returned. What? Yeah. Okay. Nice. Encapsulate the live data. Update word text. Update something, something, something. Run your app. Okay, cool. You might want control. Okay. View model should edit the data in your app, but the UI controllers need to read the data. Use both mutable live data and live data objects. So mutable live data is like read, write, and live data is only read. So what you do is you write underscore score. Okay. Backing property. Okay. All right. Okay. Sort of. Not super important. All right. Game finished event. Observer pattern is a software design pattern. Observable observers, live data in the app, blah, blah, blah. Live data to get the game finished event, game finished object. My water. Almost. I should refill this. View lifecycle owner. End the game if the word list is empty. Private fun next word. Select and remove a word from the list. I see. Resetting the game event game finished flag. On game finished complete method. Event game finished at value equals false. So after you display the toast, you basically say we've completed the event, is it? Game finished. Okay. Live data event. Okay. Boolean. All right. Oh, so you can use this as a sort of an weird event emitter just by placing it as a boolean, and then every time its value changes, you can make it play again complete. So you can essentially in the observer you can set play again, if play again. All right, cool. Okay, I don't like this as a pattern, to be honest. Like, what? This is so it's like essentially what's going to happen is it's going to observe it twice, right? Because so the value is true, and this one is value is false, and in both cases it kind of updates this live data. So every time the live data is updated, this observer is called. So what happens is here it okay, so let's say for example the play again button is clicked, right? So that time this is set to true, it'll trigger this. If play again is true, so it'll navigate there, it'll call this, which will call this, which will set it to false, which will trigger this again, except this time play again is false, and so it won't trigger this, right? So it's more like the observer will trigger twice every time. There should be a neater way to do this. Like, what? Come on, there has to be a proper event emitter which can literally just emit the event once that the game is complete, and every observer can just, attached observers can just trigger and do whatever they need to do, and that's it. Like this plus this seems like a hack, right? That we are having this boolean that is being used for this is kind of stupid, actually stupid. Like, what even? They're observing. Yeah, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be done. Like, come on, this is kind of dumb. Am I just being stupid? Does that make sense? I don't feel like it makes sense. Maybe it'll make sense if you add more states to it. Maybe it'll make sense if you have like different game states, and play again is one of those states. Like essentially play again clicked or something like that is one of those states. And the observer, when the game starts, can set the game state to game started, which can potentially trigger some other observer. So every observer kind of has its own state check where it kind of checks what the current state is. So if the state check is kind of like starting or whatever, then some observer triggers, and if it's something else, like, so all the observers will trigger. But again, I feel like the event handler should really be doing that part of it. Like, it should be, you shouldn't have to duplicate that logic in the observers themselves. Like, the observers should really just subscribe to a particular type of event, and when that event happens, it should, I don't know. We should have like other event emitter frameworks or patterns to be able to handle this, right? Yeah. But yeah, this is a thing. Okay, so summary, live data is lifecycle aware, mutable live data, encapsulate, observable. Okay, kind of makes sense. All right, I got this. Yeah, the backing property stuff is kind of annoying, not worth dealing with for the most part, in my opinion. But yeah, this is interesting. I'll have to watch this off stream. But yeah, okay. So if we go back to the testing code lab, what is it that we were trying to do? Testing basics. So assertions for live data. All right, so we kind of left off over there. Instant task executor rule, which makes sure it sort of executes in a single thing, right? So if I go into this, wow, it has no documentation. Thank you. JUnit rule that swaps the background executor with a different one which executes each task synchronously. You can use this rule for your host side tests that use architecture components. All right, so that's kind of the JUnit rule that we need for that purpose. Reader mode is what? Oh, beautiful. Okay, very nice. Nice. Ooh. All right, so we should potentially, all right, so we need to assert something. We still have to do that. So if I do this test implementation arch testing version, we did that. We added the instant executor rule, architecture testing. All right, cool. Core testing. All right, cool. So we did that. We have live data is observed. When using live data, you commonly have an activity or fragment to observe it. The observation is important. You need the active observers to trigger any on-chain events. Yeah, so now it makes sense, right? If you have an observer which is active, like it is started or resumed, only then in those cases will it actually trigger, right? Only in those cases will the live data actually be live, and in other cases it will be just sleeping. So to get the expected live data behavior for view models live data, you need to observe it with a lifecycle owner. I love you, dogs. Thank you for the follow. What's going on, man? Suppose the problem in your task view model test you don't have. So this makes sense now. Okay, it's a good thing we kind of went over the live data stuff. It makes a little bit more sense as of this point, the testing part of it, because like, okay, so we do need this. But in the tests, of course, we don't have the activity or fragment. You can use the observe forever. All right, cool. You need to remove your observer or risk an observer leak. All right, cool. Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. So the code below, examine it. All right, so we're not supposed to write this. Okay. So you create an observer. No need for it to do anything. All right. So observer event unit. Okay. That's because what we're observing is a live data event unit, I think, right? So specifically, it's the view model.result live data that we're trying to see. So task view model, if I go into this, it has a whole bunch of these, but specifically it's the event live data that we're trying to observe, right? Add new task, that's a new task event. Yeah, okay. So add new task. Okay, so it's using the same kind of thing that I was talking about earlier, except instead of a Boolean, it's actually creating an event. There's an event class which we can use. So the add new task, right? There we go. Event unit. Okay, new task value equals event unit. So event in this case is exposed via live data that represents an event. So this is something that we've created in the code. Suppressed member visibility can be private. So T is being returned in get content if not handled. Oh, okay, I see. I see. So it's the same thing what we did with the Boolean. Instead of having to set it true and false, we encapsulate that within the data itself, so that when the data gets observed, it kind of says the event content has been handled, has been observed, basically. Right? So I think has been observed would be a better way to think about this, because when does this set? We set it only if we call get content if not handled, not observed, I think. Okay. So it's sort of like, if we see where it's being called, it's sort of like in event.kt itself. Okay, so there's an event observer which calls, so we just have to make sure to call this one. But the observer itself is of type observer, Android X lifecycle observer, which calls onChanged. And I see, okay. It overrides onChanged with the event. In fact, do we need to override onChanged at all? Can we not replace this with a lambda entirely? I feel like we should be able to, right? Replace this with a lambda. No warnings, weirdly enough, except this one. P content is never used, of course, but that's because we are supposed to write that in the test. But what's going on? I should be able to replace this with observer event t equals, and I should be able to write it as event t question mark arrow, remove all of this stuff and take this out and remove all of this stuff from here. Oh yeah, sorry, you should be like this. What's your problem? Function declaration must have a name. Oh, it's a class, not a method. Whoops. Okay. Oh, it's a class. No wonder. All right. I think, like, let me just revert everything. Yeah. Okay. Now it makes sense. All right. It's a class, not a method. I keep thinking it's a method that returns an observer. It's actually a class that extends an observer. So it's an event observer that we have that just makes it such that if you use the event observer, which I think we do in a bunch of places, in fact, that's pretty good. So we just have to dot observe event observer, and then we have to pass in a lambda. And that's the thing, right? Yeah. So we don't have to like create a new instance of it. But of course, when we're declaring it, at that point, we have to override onChanged. And the way we do that is passing in an event. Because it's an observer event t, so we get an event t. All right, cool. So if content is not handled, then we on event unhandled content. All right, cool. Then we call in this, we call the lambda, right? Because it's not handled yet. But if the moment it gets handled, has been handled as set is true. Fantastic. Okay. That way, the next call to it on the same event, it means it's already been handled. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Very, very good. Very good. Okay. So, lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense, actually. All right, cool. So live data util, what do we do here? Okay, so now we kind of want to test that the kind of got away from myself. Yeah, we want to test that this event is actually triggered, right? So the main thing that we're testing is that it sets the new task event, right? So we want to make sure that event is triggered. Okay. So triggers any transformations, blah, blah, blah. We don't actually have an activity or a fragment. We need to. So what we do is we create an observer for an event and try observe the live data forever. But we need to make sure we remove the observers. So we have to do a try finally. All right, cool. So at this point, remove observer. Okay. Otherwise, so we observe forever on the new task event. We observe forever the observer, add a new task. And when we call add new task, the new task event should be triggered. So the value equals task new. Okay. Dot new task event dot value. Assert that value dot get content if not handled, not null value. All right, cool. Okay. A lot of boilerplate code. You're gonna create an extension function called live data test util to make adding observers simpler. All right, cool. The live data test util. We're gonna do this. Copy paste the code below. Jeez. Time unit. What on earth? What is this doing? Visible for testing. What on earth is this doing? Okay, so it kind of makes it much easier in terms of, right? So we have now an extension method, and that's basically get or await value, which lets us, okay, got it. What is this doing? Visible for testing, otherwise visible for testing equals none. Visible for testing. Wait, is that a it's an Android X annotation. Denotes the class method field has its visibility relaxed, so it's more widely visible than otherwise necessary to make the code testable. You can optionally specify what the visibility should have been if not for testing. Oh, I see. Okay. Should never be called from production, only from tests. Beautiful. All right. But in that case, if this is the case, couldn't we place it inside the test TST folder? Why do we need it to be in the test source set? Yeah, exactly. So at that point, the visible for testing should be not necessary at all, because if it's in the test source set, the normal source set doesn't even have access to it. It's the other way around. The test source set can have access to the normal source set, but not the other way around, right? You can't call test code from your production code. I don't see why that's necessary at all. All right, cool. Live data, get or await value, time long equals to time unit dot seconds. Time unit is java.util.concurrent. Okay. After observe this data latch, countdown latch. What the fuck? I don't remember what countdown latches are. Check out this blog post. All right, cool. Why not? Why not? Why not? We're all about rabbit holes on the stream. Concurrency construct that allows one or more threads to wait for a given set of operations to complete. Initialized with a given count. So what's the count you initialize it with? 1. All right, cool. Decremented. Await blocks this thread until the count reaches 0. Interesting. So the countdown latch that we're creating is part of java.util.concurrent. Okay. So what's the purpose of this? Gets a live data value and cleans up the observer. Short reusable version of the observe forever code. Okay. And then we call get or await value. That's it. Get content if not handled. In the to-do app, you're using a custom event to make live data represent one-time events, such as navigation or a snack bar opening up. Yep, that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Get content if not handled provides a one-time capability. Call the first time, it gets the content of the event. Any additional calls for the same content will return null. That's how event data is accessed in the app code, and thus we're using it for the tests. You can learn more about events here. All right, cool. Complete test should look like the code below. Okay. Super cool. I need to know what this does though. That is not observed, won't emit updates. All right, cool. I feel like observe forever. Okay, so essentially we're doing the same thing. We're doing observe forever. We're just abstracting that code away into a specific test util. But I don't understand why the code here isn't just exactly the code here. And it's more like has like countdown latches and everything. What in the world? There's a latch.countdown. So after observe is a method dot invoke. You don't have to write dot invoke. You can just call after observe as a function. Try finally. Don't wait indefinitely. So are we passing anything in to get or await value? Nothing. So it's just gonna take all the default things. So it's gonna be an empty method. It's gonna be time unit dot seconds. So 2 seconds. It's gonna wait for 2 seconds for something. Latch dot await, timeout exception, live data value was never set. Don't wait indefinitely if the live data is not set. Okay. I see. So you give it an observe forever, and you take the observer object, observer t, on changed, data equals O, last dot countdown. What? Okay. What's the point of the... Okay, I should read this. If a live data falls in a forest and no one is observing it, was it ever updated? Fantastic. Okay. The value of live data 1 is transformed to uppercase when the initial value changes. So mutable live data 1, live data. Okay, cool. So this is just the thing you do to make sure that you have a read only thing available. And live data 2 dot map it dot 2 uppercase. So it transforms live data 1 to uppercase, and that's updating live data 2. And set new value string, live data 1 dot value equals new value. So it just sort of updates based on this. Okay. So this updates live data 1, and which will update live data 2 in turn because of this, right? The transformation on live data 1. All right, cool. So let's write a simple test for it. So we are testing live data 1 and 2, foo and foo, but this will fail. This will pass, this will fail. Why? Set new value. Test fails because live data doesn't do more work than needed. Live data 2 dot value doesn't initiate the chain of dependent transformations because it's not observed. Why is live data 1 observed? Oh, live data 1 is observed by live data 2. Is that right? Is that what's happening? But who's observing live data 1? Like, I don't see any observers at all. View model. Subscription through observe does that. So public live data 1, not observed, not observed. Okay, so this is live data 1, live data 2. Who get mutable live data. Not computed if it's not observed. So there's a transformation. When you call dot get, live data 1's value can be read because it's a mutable live data, and no transformations need to be evaluated. Oh, is interesting. Okay. So live data 1 is really just, I see. It's abstracting away. All right, cool. The mutable live data. So that's the reason why. Okay. Would be to call observe forever. Yet, but we can make our own. Yeah, this should have been a part of the test helper, but yeah, whatever. Time unit. This doesn't pass in the third thing though, the after observe method. Okay. I see. So latch.countdown basically says, since the latch is initially defined with 1, it just says it releases that latch, I guess, and it stops awaiting. All right, cool. If you want to keep observing a live data through a test because it might receive multiple values that you want to check, take a look at observe for testing. Now the test is much more readable. Get or await value. Before this, we were just doing live data 1.value. Okay. Without reading any live data value. Okay, in case the implementation detail changes in the future, which I think it did actually. I think it did. Threading issues. Post value from the main thread. The documented precedence might not be preserved. This is not common, but can create evasive bugs. Okay. God, threading. Asynchronous was a mistake. Okay. See this in action. Wrong view model. Wrong room database instance. Jesus. Okay. Is actually nuts. All right. So we do that and then we write this. Okay, cool. I will do this on the next stream. It is a bit late and I will stop here. And yeah, the next stream will be tomorrow morning. So yeah, I am starting the weekday streams again. As usual, if any of you are live on the chat right now, ! Discord in the chat. That's basically where we discuss software sometimes, but for the most part, it's really where I post updates when I'm going live. Yeah, not much apart from that. Yeah, this is fun. This is very brain power consuming. Like, holy shit, there is so much to think about for these. Like, wow, Android architecture is not a joke. Like, it is nuts. It has gotten really crazy recently. But I think, like, for the most part, I like the direction in which it's going. It's abstracting away a lot of the nonsense. And so the actual code that you write, the core code that you write, if you spend some time setting up all of these primitives, all of these things, the actual code that you write gets super simple and it becomes like this, right? And it functions. Like, you don't have to write a ton of things to make sure that data updates correctly, and then you can have like a lot of subtle bugs and all that. It kind of avoids all of that. It's quite nice. So a lot of the actual boilerplate is kind of abstracted away for you, which is pretty good. Okay, so yeah, that's about it from me. I've been live for almost exactly 2 hours. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'll have a shorter stream in the morning. Yeah, that's about it from me for today. See you guys next time. Bye bye.